Ava didn't want to talk any more than that, so I folded my arms and headed to the window to cool my head a little. As I looked over the parlor, I saw George, Aniki, and the others, gathered, talking. It looked like they were talking about the magic circle that had been painted onto the shutter. Uh-huh. Oh, shit. As Uncle Hideyoshi thought back to that time, he started drawing the shape in the margins of Maria's notebook. I see. Since Maria was second only to grandfather in knowledge of the occult, she might understand what it meant. I think it was probably something like that. There was a mark that looked like a variation of a cross. And then surrounding the circle, all around the perimeter, were these closely packed strange letters on all four sides of the cross, and in the four corners there was something written. And it didn't look like the alphabet or something like that. It was what they call ancient characters. Around the top of the circumference there was a small mark. 5 small circles arranged in a plus sign, and straight lines connecting them. Oh yeah, there definitely was something like that drawn there. Yep, there's no mistake in the shape. I don't understand the thin characters, but the arrangement was nearly the same. Everyone was staring down at the shape, so I stared down at it too. From what I'd heard, this had been painted on the shutter to the storehouse with some material that looked like blood. I see. This sure is unsettling. Grandfather's probably the only one who'd want to draw something this weird. Seriously, where did he go? I want to grab him and ask him what the hell this is supposed to mean. Jessica's voice contained impatience and anger, obviously. She hadn't gone so far as to say grandfather was the culprit, but she seemed sure that grandfather knew something about the culprit's background. Of course, if you were searching for a link connecting the Ushirome family to the occult, 10 out of 10 people would think of grandfather. Also, to a person who knew nothing of the occult, this strange mark would have no meaning. Which meant that this might have been something addressed to grandfather. That's right. And the reason the crime was shown to the survivors was so they'd find this. In that case, where had grandfather, the essential recipient of the message, disappeared off to? Does the shape ring any bells? Maria looked at the shape with a serious face. Maybe she was enthusiastic because this was her area of expertise. However, her appearance was that of someone separated from the events at hand, as though this thing had been drawn on the shutter closed around her mother's corpse. My first impression was that the design resembled a German cross. Ah, it certainly does have that kind of design. Does that mean it has something to do with Germany? The German cross was originally a crest from a religious order of knights who was supposed to protect pilgrims traveling to secret places. So, in other words, this magic circle might have some religious meaning? It's starting to sound like gibberish. When I looked over at all of them, preparing to jump into the discussion, something shocked me. Maria was smiling, an eerie and incomprehensible expression over her face. Oh, fuck. Fuck. It was almost as if she was making fun of everyone's ignorance. Yep, here it comes. It was an expression I wouldn't have dreamed to find on Maria's face. And she laughed. That eerie, jarring laugh. Something I didn't want to believe was possible, even though I was looking right at it in front of my eyes. Oh God.
You people aren't even close. Can't you tell just by looking?
While everyone was being scared out of their wits, Maria kept on cackling happily by herself. After a while, that laugh was suddenly and abruptly cut off, but her expression still looked like it belonged to someone completely different from Maria.
This is the 7th magic circle of the sun. The characters are written in Hebrew. Give it here.
Sure. Maria stole the writing materials from the stunned Hideyoshi's hand. She then started drawing another magic circle with a rustle, right next to the one Hideyoshi had drawn.
See? It looks sort of like this, right?
Yes, it was.
Maria, incredible. You really do know a lot.
Jessica tried to smooth things over by praising Maria. Maybe she wanted to confirm that this was still the Maria we all knew so well. But Maria didn't answer in any way particular. Maria began swiftly writing unfamiliar characters in the corners of the shape. When Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjo saw them, their eyes immediately began to open wide.
Written on the top and bottom and the left are the names of the angels who preside over wind, fire, earth, and water. Chasan, Ariel, Forlock, and Talyahad. And in the 4 corners are the names of the 4 great kings. Ariel, Seraph, Tharsis, and Cherub. Is that what you saw?
Even if they hadn't been able to correctly write what they'd seen, When they were once again shown something identical, it wasn't difficult for them to realize the two were the same. When Maria asked them whether it matched, Uncle Hideyoshi and Dr. Nanjo nodded over and over again. There's no mistake, that's it. I'm sure there was characters that looked like that. How were you able to write something like that? There was also characters written around the circumference.
I know. Like this, right?
Maria quickly began to surround the circumference with more Hebrew writing.
Hands from Psalms of the Old Testament, the 16th and 17th verses of the 116th Psalm. You must have at least read the Bible, right? Acting as though knowing this was only common sense, Maria laughed. For a while, everyone, including me, was at a loss for words. A little later, George Aniki returned to his senses and slowly managed to speak. That's incredible. I'm surprised. So, what meaning does this magic circle have? It's a magic circle to borrow the power of the sun. He who wears it as a talisman, drawn in gold, shall be able to break free from the bonds of any prison and receive the power to gain freedom.
Oh.
To break free from the bonds and gain freedom? Sounds deep. The word bonds is not limited in its interpretation to some kind of physical object. Therefore, it does not only hold meaning for people locked up in an actual jail. It can also refer to the release from mental bonds such as ties of obligation and inescapable fate.
Ties of obligation and inescapable fate, you say? That's also pretty deep. But I really don't understand. What does this have to do with those 6 bodies? Ties of obligation and inescapable fate. So the siblings, were, tied to their fate of being part of the inheritance? I don't know. That's kind of a stretch. I know obligation and inescapable fate. Shannon was engaged, and that's a kind of obligation for sure. Goda being a servant, maybe? Not sure. I don't know, maybe I'm just reaching at this point, but this is supposed to be a big murder mystery story, alright? So I'm sure there's a bit more mystery here than I think. This is one of those times where I think, it's okay for me to get a little over-analytical with it. Far from being released, they were killed and stuffed in a storehouse, weren't they?
It's not like the magic circle was drawn for their sakes. The 6 of them were there for the sake of the magic circle.
Okay.
It is truly pitiable.
What do you mean? What in the world do you mean when you say the 6 of them weren't there for the sake of the magic circle? Maria lifted her pointed finger and waggled it as if she were making fun of us.
It's written around the circumference. Can't you read it? Psalms chapter 116, verses 16 and 17. I'll read it for you. The Lord has freed me from my chains. I will offer to you the sacrifice of thanksgiving, and will call on the name of the Lord. See?
See, you say? I've got no idea what you're talking about. You're saying they're human sacrifices? If what Maria had just read out loud was a vital part of the magic circle, then it was saying that the sacrifices had to be offered in order for this magic circle to be effective. So human sacrifices had been offered inside the storehouse, where the magic circle had been drawn. A heartbeat later, everyone else seemed to reach the same conclusion. Some people were shocked, and others spat out that this was insane as they punched their knees. This was starting to get incredibly disturbing, and we couldn't accept it or understand it. I don't care what kind of magic circles or curses other people believe in. I won't pick a fight with them. But did they really kill Dad and the rest as sacrifices for crap like that? I just couldn't understand that feeling. Compared to this, I preferred it to when we were still discussing by that theory about the fight over the inheritance. As I started to get pissed off with the feeling between anger and sadness, I broke from the circle everyone was in and returned once again to the window. Something had gone insane since yesterday. There was that letter from the witch, Beatrice, that Maria had read out loud at last night's dinner. Ever since that point, it feels like this whole mansion, this whole island have been getting more and more firmly locked in some kind of bizarre world. That's right. When I think back on it, that letter was an invitation from the witch. The ruler of the nighttime island had invited us, inhabitants of the day, into another world. The phone and the radio had been interrupted and the island was shut off by the typhoon, so we really could call this place another world, cut off from the real one by now. Yeah, as this island is now, it's perfectly normal for a witch to send us letters and for human sacrifices to be offered up for the sake of magic circles. So what will happen next? Will some weird people wearing goat masks start doing the Bond Festival or dance or something? It's almost like there's a prophecy telling you what happens next. That's hopeless. It's hopeless. I don't get it. The inside of my head's all screwed up. I don't even know what to think. Anger, sadness, the opposing emotions all swirled up together and they started to suck me in. Unable to resist, I could do nothing but cover my eyes with my hands and trust my mind and my body as I started getting sucked in. Oh, come Come on, when is Maria going to point it out for them, you know? That's what I'm waiting for. I started losing heart. I began to recall a memory from when I was small. It was from when I was very young. I had unfortunately seen a scary occult movie on TV, and for a while, I hadn't even been able to go to the bathroom by myself. The old bastard gave an exaggerated laugh and said this. Hey, Paddler. Why do you think they all go to the trouble to make movies like this about demons and the occult and such? It's because they don't exist. Something that ridiculous can't be found anywhere on the planet. Because they don't exist, people want to see them and go to a lot of effort making them. That's why those occult movies just make me laugh. If I were forced to choose, I'd say rather than demons and monsters, this year's earnings call and angry wives are 100 million times scarier. I'll go further, okay? From my point of view, getting scared is a recreational emotion, something for people who've got room to relax both in their hearts and their lifestyles. They had so much free time they didn't even know what to do with it, so in order to entertain their mind with unusual emotions, people started creating a culture with demons and the occult and stuff. Interesting take. Seriously, why have I been acting so goddamn thick-headed? I was totally taken in. Don't try to mess with me. This is the human world. I don't give a damn about witches, demons, magic, circles, and sacrifices. The human who killed Dad and everyone else is still on the island. That's all there is to it, right? The next person who started speaking to my heart was Kairi-san. You see, in both chess and shogi, when you reach the very, very last stage of the game, get closer and closer to cornering your opponent. The number of optimal moves you could possibly make gets smaller and smaller. Ooh, what's this music? Therefore, if you're backing someone against the wall, or if someone's doing the same to you, both players' moves become infinitely easier to read. In other words, when you're completely cornered and you think you have no moves left, that is the moment when it's easiest to read your opponent. However, when a person is forced into a defensive position, they can't help but lose their ability to think clearly, so they aren't able to get their minds around their opponent's moves. That's when you spin the chessboard around. With all my strength, I slapped my face with both hands. Now my eyes were truly open. I'm woke. When you don't understand anything, and you're completely cornered just like I am now, isn't that the perfect time to spin the chessboard around? Jesus Christ. I'm getting so sick of hearing this phrase. I get it. That's what they're doing. They're looking from the other perspective. I get it, alright? I get the importance of the phrase, sure. Goddamn, how many times do I need to hear it? While on the defensive, we can't even guess the culprit's scheme. If we spin around and look at it that way, just what might we see? First off, at the time the culprit committed the murders, they knew the island was being cut off by the typhoon. Therefore, they should have understood that even if they carried out the murders, they wouldn't be able to get away early the next morning. In short, the culprit had already begun without securing a way to escape. Furthermore, that bastard tossed the corpses in the storehouse, then was even kind enough to say, "Here they are," with that weird bit of graffiti. In other words, since we'd probably find the corpses sooner or later, they wanted to show them to us. If we'd all been dim, and hadn't noticed the storage shed, the culprit's goal would not have been achieved, would it? If you think about it this way, that bastard of a culprit. Since this morning, they must have been watching our every move with bated breath. After all, if we hadn't been so kind as to discover what was on the storehouse, all that hard work and preparation they did last night would have just gone poof. What did the culprit want to make us feel by showing us the corpses in the storehouse? All 6 of the bodies had their faces noticeably destroyed. Was it a grudge? A warning? The defacement of the bodies had occurred after death, so it hadn't been the means by which the culprit had killed. It didn't mean anything to those who had been killed. It did have meaning to those who had found the bodies. The culprit wanted to make it appear that they had been killed so brutally. Ha! After thinking this way, I really want to tell that bastard to stop taking me so lightly. Who would just dance to that tune? If you're told, "Please be scared," you can't just say, "Really? Sure thing." When someone tells the great Ushiromiya battler, "The entrance is right here," I'm the kind of guy who will start wanting to sneak in through the window. The next thing that had me concerned was that so-called magic circle on the shutter. As Maria, who had shown that her knowledge of the occult rival grandfathers, had recognized, that magic circle was genuine. They must have drawn that thing in pitch-black darkness, taking a lot of time holding an umbrella in one hand. Isn't that the amount of hard work and perfectionism impressive? What purpose would have been worth all that effort? If we were looking for a fan of the occult in this mansion, most likely, all of us would naturally suspect Grandfather. Did they want to make us think Grandfather was involved? But if that's all they wanted, they could have just drawn any old scribble that looked like a magic circle. It wasn't like any of us amateurs would be able to tell the difference between genuine and fake. However, this magic circle was genuine, and furthermore, it had even been written in Hebrew. So this magic circle had a message that could only be understood by someone with knowledge of the occult. A message is a form of communication. By sending it, they were hoping for a reaction. A reaction? For some reason, we couldn't find Grandfather now. I don't know how Grandfather might have spotted the magic circle on the shutter, but did he choose to hide himself in reaction to that? No. Was it a trap to make us suspect that Grandfather had participated? You could read it either way. Damn, that's annoying. What kind of reaction was the culprit hoping to get out of us by putting on this occult show? Somehow, that felt like the culprit's weak point. The letter from Beatrice that Maria had read out loud during last night's dinner sprang back into my mind. This was a freak who'd asked us to enjoy a battle of wits. Isn't that interesting? This is a battle of wits between us and the witch. Will we be sucked up by her occult game first? Or will we pull off her fake skin first? There's a whole day until the typhoon passes. Why not enjoy ourselves? Interesting. I finally noticed that the inside of the parlor had gone quiet again. Everyone had sunk into their favorite sofas, some deep in thought, some irritated, some acting depressed. Maria was once again enjoying the TV as if she'd never left it. It looked like she had found the commercials more fun than the boring program, and she happily yelled, "Ooh, ooh," and giggled. I stared at each person's appearance in turn. If there isn't a 19th person, the culprit must be in this room. Yep, it was Maria. Totally. Did I do it? Maybe I am a monster. Right now, Aunt Natsuhi is searching the mansion with the servants, right? Then we shouldn't say in this room. In this mansion is where the culprit has to be. After all, it's possible Aunt Natsuhi was behind this. And we still can't deny that one of the servants might be the killer. Anyone could be guilty. Still, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest sure are taking their time. Of course, it's not a small mansion, but isn't this taking a little too long just to walk around checking the windows and doors? Just as I was thinking as Aunt Natsuhi and the rest returned. Not one of them was missing. But our relief was short-lived. Everyone looked at Aunt Natsuhi in shock. The talk I'd had with Aunt Eva started to creep back into my mind. The possibility that the culprits had enough in numbers or weapons to kill all of those 6 at once. Oh! Oh, she packing heat! Oh, goddamn! Whoa, Natsuhi, hey! Hey, 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 hey. She ain't just like carrying it like, look what I found. Like, she's fucking finger on the trigger. She's okay. Whoa, Natsuhi, listen. Hey, hey, hey. Easy, easy. Chill the fuck out. This woman strapped, locked and loaded, ready to go. Forgive me if I've startled you. I brought this to be prepared for the worst. After all, that thing in Aunt Natsuhi's hand was a rifle. Rifle? Motherfucker, that looked like a goddamn shotgun. That does not look like long enough to be a rifle. That looks like she about to fucking fire some buckshot off. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Rifle. Maybe it's just a weird perspective thing. And, you know, it's actually, you know, let me see what she looks like in original images. Yeah, no, even in original images, that's very short. That is very short. That's a goddamn shotgun. You cannot fool me. That woman packing a shotty. I'm fucking frightened. At a glance, its silhouette looked a lot like a hunting gun, but it was unusually short and kind of looked like a kid-sized weapon. It's called a shotgun. However, it had a weightness to it. It made it clear it was no kid's toy. My goodness, Kinzo-san, isn't it? Did you know about it? That's right. I remembered it was in Father's old collection. I managed to find it. Whoa. Awesome. Natsuhi-san, is that thing real? Yes, it's real. It can fire live ammunition. Long ago, Father used it to scare away wild birds. Oh, that takes me back. Where did you find that thing? No matter how much I asked him to let me touch it, he never let me lay even a finger on it. Grandfather had one of these? I didn't know that. Long ago, Grandfather was really addicted to cowboy films. That generation really liked this kind of rifle. Is that a Winchester? I've never seen one that short before. Ah, I remember, it's that gun. This really takes me back. That's the one Steam McQueen fired off and wanted, alive or dead. Yeah, it's good old Steam McQueen, yeah. Father sure has good taste. It is an item that Master ordered specially from America long ago. As you can see, it is a working gun, so please don't tell anyone about this. He was quite fond of it right after he managed to acquire it. It seems the workings that ejected the cartridges were more interesting to him than shooting it, and he played around with it back in the forest all the time. Oh. Still, it's rather disturbing. Are you sure you should be dragging this out? This is to prepare for the worst. There was probably more than one offender involved. Furthermore, these horrible people killed 6 of us, including my husband. I have a responsibility to protect everyone until tomorrow, in my husband's place. As Natsuhi-san said this, she slumped down to one of the sofas and took a deep breath. She'd been trying to find Grandfather, as well as check the doors and windows. Since Grandfather wasn't with her, she probably still didn't know where he was. I carefully checked all the doors and windows throughout the mansion. However, we must be prepared for anything. Everyone, I think it would be best if we all remained here. Oh, good point. If everyone's gathered here, then we can feel more secure by keeping an eye on each other. What do you mean by that, Eva-san? Nothing, really. I'm just agreeing with your opinion, aren't I? There was a stormy atmosphere between the two of them. If you think about who was the most suspicious from the inheritance problem standpoint, Aunt Eva was the obvious answer. However, there was no proof that Aunt Natsuhi was innocent. Now, if you view Beatrice's letter as one of Grandfather's complicated pranks, and think of this crime as just an extension of that, there's more than enough reason to suspect even Grandfather. Also, Aunt Natsuhi thought the criminal was one on the outside, but Aunt Eva thought the criminal was on the inside. In short, it was a question of whether or not a 19th person exists. The same question has been repeated endlessly since last night's dinner, with the letter from the witch who called herself Beatrice. So who is the culprit among us, or not? And did the witch Beatrice exist, or not? If you assume that something as stupid as a witch can't exist, you're basically saying that one of these relatives here, who share a common bloodline, is the culprit. If that was too unpleasant, it'd be much more comfortable to simply accept the fairy tale-like character of the witch. A witch? A witch drawing a bizarre magic circle and offering human sacrifices? If I could accept that rubbish, then I'd be able to trust all the people in this room. However, damn common sense got in the way. It kept repeating that witches don't exist. In that case, the culprit must be among us. In the middle of the seemingly endless rain, none of us could break the silence. Okay. Hey, so where does this story actually end? Where does this episode end anyway? Because there's like 7 more episodes, and I'm running on almost 12 hours into this. Like, I knew this was a longer story, like definitely a much longer one. I knew that ran like, from what I saw, it runs an average of like an upwards of 90 hours total for both the question arcs and answer arcs, all the episodes. So like I know it's a long story, but where does episode 1 end?